relate. Oh, now my Jamie. On this time. You all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Andriano?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here. Somebody like to make a motion on the reports?
Make a motion to accept the code compliance for November 2022, code enforcement for 2022. Dog control officer for November 2022, ECI for November 22. And the Patterson recreation October and November 2022. So move.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Somebody like to make a motion on the supervisor's reports?
I'll make a motion that we approve the supervisor's report for the month of October 2022 in the amount of $9,505,360.91. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion, we approve the town board meeting minutes of November 9th and 30th, 2022. So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Somebody like to audit the bills?
I will make a motion that the town board approve abstract number 22 dated December 2nd, 2022 in the amount of $551,718.98. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have three more budget request, budget transfer requests. The first one, number 34, is necessary to reallocate funds from the judgments and claims contractual account for appraisal services of a tax certiorari. So we're moving $7,500 from special counsel expense accounts to judgment and claims contractual expense account in the amount of $7,500. Number 35 is necessary to reallocate funds for the highway miscellaneous contractual and utilities accounts for the new well pump and increased fuel costs. We're moving $5,500 from general repairs contractual and $2,500 from workers' compensation expense accounts to miscellaneous contractual, $5,500, and $2,500 from miscellaneous utilities. 36, necessary to reallocate funds for the recycling contractual account for the increased tipping fee costs. We'll be moving $1,000 from contingency account and $1,500 to landfill contractual expense accounts to recycling contractual expense accounts, $3,500. Number 37 is necessary to reallocate funds for the planner training account for the mandated stormwater training. So we'll be moving $400 from supervisor training, $100 planner contractual, and $1,000 planning board training expense accounts. We move those to the planner training expense accounts, $1,500. I'll make a motion that the town board approve budget transfer request 34, 35, 36, and 37. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I was going to be cruel and say, could you repeat all that for me? It's just, I missed something, but.
Mrs. D'Andriano.
All right, first I have a memo here from our EMS supervisor, Mr. Kearns. He's requesting to be authorized to spend grant money, grant from the Health Resources and Services Administration. He needs to spend the money by the end of the year. So he's looking to spend money on supplies related to COVID and also on a really cool piece of equipment called a Massimo Rad 57. This Massimo Rad 7, it will you put it on someone's finger. It's kind of like a traditional pulse ox machine, which measures someone's oxygen levels. but this also measures carbon monoxide levels. So it's great for our firefighters that come out of a structure fire and checking their CO2 levels as well as carbon monoxide levels as well as when they go to a house with a carbon monoxide, detector going off, they can check the vehicle. So I think it's really cool. Great. So I guess, so we're looking here to authorize Mr. Kearns to spend the grant money. Is that release him to spend it? Okay.
As per his memo,
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye. The second thing I have here, we talked about the no parking on Fields Corners. We had a nice, lengthy discussion on that, so I'd like to set a public hearing on this. We're looking for January.
Public hearing is scheduled for, according to the notice, December 28th.
We were talking about the other one. I'm sorry. when
Oh.
you mentioned that's the other zoning change. We were talking about January. Apologize.
So what do I need to do this? Set it?
Yeah.
Okay. To make motions to set the public hearing for the amendment to chapter 150 of the Patterson Code for December 28, 2022. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I have a request from the Recreation Department to buy some T-shirts. They got some prices here. The lowest price was Extreme Design, so I'd like to make a motion to approve up to $2,000, not to exceed $2,000 for T-shirts with Extreme Designs. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And then last, I have a conference request here from our planning department from Sharon Jenkins for the conference for a certified municipal stormwater inspector conference for the price of $799. We also have a second interest.
We do. Let me add some background to this. So I've been anxiously waiting for the new MS4 permit to come out. We saw an initial draft that we pushed back hard on the spring, and hopefully they're going to make substantial revisions to that. That permit should have been out by now. The permit that we saw in the spring had very, very substantial training requirements for anybody involved in the stormwater program. And we're still waiting to see how the DEC is going to address the fact that we pushed back and said, that's fine with the training, but you need to provide it. And they, as of today, have not said anything, but I expect that those training requirements are still going to be in the permit. And they're going to be looking, at everybody who's involved in the MS4 program to have some sort of training. This is not the best training that I've seen, and it's certainly not the cheapest, but I don't know that we have any real options, which is why I encourage Shannon to put an application in. But Shannon's not going to be able to do all the inspections by herself. I mean, that's just the reality. We have some 100 stormwater ponds that have to be inspected. We have 430 outfalls that we have to inspect constantly. We have to inspect facilities constantly. And the new permit we anticipate is going to ratchet it up. So I would like the board, if you're agreeable, to also authorize me to take the training as well. I've been doing this, but I haven't been to any training in 6 years, 7 years. So that Shannon and I can continue to work together getting the inspections done. Just so you know, we just had to meet the requirements for the outfall inspection between the two of us. We spent a considerable time. We got, I think it was 110 outfalls inspected in the past month, but it's a lot of work.
You had mentioned when the DEC released their preliminary changes to the permitting process that the potential cost to Patterson increase could potentially be a couple $100,000 a year, right?
Easily.
And so
Easily.
I think we need to have a conversation pretty soon about, once they're codified, is a conversation about the needs of that program outside of Shannon and our town supervisor. Maybe bring on some lower level staff that can do inspections.
Mhm.
I think
Well,
that,
Again, we're waiting for the permit to come out. We pushed
Yeah.
back pretty hard on the requirements. A lot of the permitting, a lot of the inspection and reporting requirements are really unnecessary.
Yeah.
outfalls, if they're stable, they're not gonna change over a significant period of time. So there's no reason to inspect 20% of your outfalls every year. When the permit comes out, it's gonna be in draft. I'm sure we're gonna, write our usual letters about the cost and see what they do.
So I might add that if two people go, more than one person goes, there's actually a $50 discount
There is.
per person. So we would save $100 by sending both of you. So I'll make a motion to approve up to $1,500 for Ms. Jenkins and Supervisor Williams to attend. It's by Zoom, so there's no travel expenses or anything like that. So.
Second, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Peter, for that.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
Charles.
Next, we have shelter contracts from that covers our animal control personnel. And we have a resolution to renew the agreement with the Putnam County Humane Society to provide animal shelter services to dogs captured by the Patterson Dog Control Officer. The society has offered to continue to accept dogs that are captured by the Patterson Dog Control Officers and are unclaimed by the owners of such dogs for the 2023 and 2024 calendar years at a total amount of $5,000, which is the same that they've charged for the past 2 years, this year and last year. So it is an agreement here that has been provided. So I will make a motion that the town board to approve this resolution and agreement as read and entered into the record as read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have very similar resolution, which calls for the renewal of an agreement with Brook Farm Veterinary Center to accept unclaimed dogs captured by the Patterson Dog Control Officers. And town of Patterson, Brookfield Farm wish to renew said agreement commencing January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024, same deal. And there's a whole schedule of things that the Brook Farm would do. They include dog shots and all those good things. So, hold on. All right, well, anyhow, it's here. Oh, there we go. Rabies vaccine, lodging, etc. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve the resolution and agreement between Brook Farm and the town and enter both a resolution and the agreement into the record as read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have another resolution approving an agreement with Partners in Safety for drug and alcohol testing as required for employees. They also list out a number of charges per test, whether it's for drug and alcohol, drug test collection activities, breath alcohol test, etc. So we've been using Partners with Partners in Safety for a number of years now, and I will make a motion again for the town board to approve the agreement with Partners in Safety and the resolution as read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, excuse me, we have a request from the seniors, the Putnam Lake seniors, for a lunch in December at Mezzaluna Restaurant. And net cost of the budget not to exceed $580. I'll make a motion that the town board approve the senior trip request in that amount. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That's it. And Sean, you noticed I didn't step on your toes.
Charles, all these years, I want to say you do a fantastic, and I might add that your sweater is very ugly,
Thank you very much.
which is a compliment in this case, right?
I think it's kind of nice. You said you weren't.
I take it as a compliment on behalf of the supervisor and myself.
Okay,
right.
next item we had discussed the changes to the zoning code last meeting, so these are changes that are being proposed to the sections on fences, stone walls, and masonry walls, architectural standards, as well as issuance of certificates. And so I will make a motion that we set a public hearing for the meeting on January 11th, 2023. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Next item, at the previous meeting, we had approved, I had done a motion to approve a action that would put a new deck on the caretaker's home at the Veterans Memorial Park. There was an issue with the quote, and we're asking for a rescind on that motion. So the previous quote was to Bakuma Building for an amount of $10,650. I'd like to make a motion to rescind that approval. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. And then replace it with the new quotes which were obtained. This is for the Veterans Memorial Park caretaker home for a new deck, which is long overdue, goes back several years. And this will be to Vitolo Remodeling and Designs for an amount not to exceed $14,800. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Next, we have some requests for some new, either new EMTs to be hired or changes in their designation. I had the honor of interviewing this candidate with our EMS administrator, Mr. Kearns. So I'd like to make a motion to hire Aoife Dundas to the position of EMT pending all appropriate managerial checks for background and Ms. Sue Brown doing her human resources work. So moved. Oh, and that's for an amount, I'm sorry, $20.25 per hour. I apologize.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Next, we are looking to change the status of Melissa Cesari, one of our EMTs, to serve as a permanent part-time EMT. Make a motion to make that change and authorize the hiring of her as a permanent part-time EMT. So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Sounds funny whenever we say a permanent part-time, but we know. And lastly, to Vincent Ruggiero III, same thing, to a move of permanent part-time EMT. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. Also, our EMS director is asking for approval to do maintenance to one of the rigs. It's number 36-7-2. Essentially, this is maintenance such as oil change, battery, etc. from Brewster Ford. The cost estimate is $1,050. I make a move that we approve a motion that we approve that necessary maintenance to that vehicle, that ambulance. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And last, this is an interesting topic for discussion, but we did get a letter from Patterson Auto Body, which I think is a long time coming for us to start discussing. It has to do with the idea that our zoning code speaks to gas stations and where they can be located in town. And the idea being that as we move towards more and more electric vehicles, we're naturally going to need charging stations. And I think the point is well taken that we have to start considering how we're going to address that within our zoning code, i.e., are we going to allow charging stations at the same frequency as gas stations or more frequently? Where are they going to be located? Because while there may not be the same environmental hazards as is contemplated with service stations, there are issues with, vehicle traffic safety and sight distance, et cetera. So I think this is just to preempt the conversation with this board to start thinking about this. And, it's nice having a town supervisor that's also a town planner to be able to kick these things around and see what direction you'd like to take this conversation in.
This is going to be a very, very challenging discussion and debate within the town that you know, if people are going, you know, transitioning into electric vehicles, we're certainly going to need the ability to charge those vehicles, not only at residential properties, but along travel routes. And if we allow charging stations anywhere, be it Acme or commercial businesses, and I'm not exactly sure how we would not allow that. What does that do to our current gas stations, our fueling stations, that now they're going to be competing in a declining market, and eventually it's going to put them out of business, it's going to bankrupt them.
That's right.
And then we're going to have vacant storefronts.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'm sure with these charging stations, there's the need for storage of vehicles. It's not like you're gonna pull up and fill up in 3 minutes like pumping gas. It might be 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, which depends on the technology. So you're tying up space. You remember a number of years ago, one of the projects on 22, it didn't come to fruition, but one of the things that, and this is back when we were on planning board, they were proposing the employee parking areas were gonna have overhead protection that with solar panels and charging stations. It was right on 22, the site where they built the storage. Remember that one of the iterations that they had proposed on that site, it wasn't Mark, no, but it was one of the earlier, it's next to Boniello, and that's
Yep,
where they built
I
the
know where
storage. And I remember them distinctly planning, again, the canopies with the solar panels on top and the charging stations for the employees, and it seemed kind of foreign back then. We were kind of intrigued by the process, but now it's I think a reality that we know we don't have the infrastructure for it, but thinking about where these are going to be placed is going to be critical.
Yeah.
sure.
And as Jim brings up a good point that, you know, one, there's been no direction from the state, right?
There's a lot of guidance from the state, sure,
Really?
about installing charging stations everywhere. Yeah,
All right,
But
so
You're talking more about location and,
Yeah,
and
the
the zoning
location of
element
it,
of
right?
it.
It's wide open.
it is wide, as far as the state goes, it's wide open.
So you can pick on Route 22. You could have a charging station on every piece of property on 22.
And
Possibly.
and what would the harm be? Because you've got parking stalls on every
Wow.
commercial business.
Yeah, but
And you see them on a lot of diners and
Danbury
malls.
We've got them,
Yeah.
Tesla. Yeah.
Where we do need to, you know, plan for sure is, you know, as Sean said, you just don't pull into a spot and
Right.
charge up for 5 minutes and leave. These are cars that are gonna be parked there for a considerable amount of time, and so it's not the transitory parking scenarios that you would have, say, with Acme,
Right.
where somebody's going in for 15 minutes and coming out.
We're gonna bring back the drive-in theaters.
Yep, and I will say I've had a conversation with a fueling station that resides in the town of Patterson, where they are looking at their business model is to substantially expand to provide electronic the EV stations for charging cars, but also to expand their interior facility for people to go in and relax and,
Yeah.
you know, retail, a food service area. So these people will go in and literally with the book or, you know, on their iPads and hang out for 2-3 hours. That's their business model that they're looking for in the future.
Yes, Jamie, we'll build a dog park inside, so you can bring your pet.
Well, I was thinking laundromat, but most people don't need a laundromat
No.
either
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
well, you should see the one down in Brewster. That's busy,
Yeah,
you know,
Hmm,
yes, that one is very busy.
by McDonald's.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. It's gonna be
So,
a good discussion.
I guess, yeah, as we move forward, if anybody has any thoughts or, you know, if you want to fuel them back through the rest of the board.
Well, I think, Rich, what would be helpful is if Shannon can look into. Obviously, there should be lots of other municipalities that are contemplating the same kinds of questions. You know, how do we address it within our zoning? What are the parameters? We shouldn't be thinking this up on our own. We should be thinking this up on our own, but we should be also looking at what's happening in neighboring communities and kind of working on this collaboratively. Because we could probably learn, I mean, again, people are gonna be having the same conversation, so there might be some real great lessons learned or, you know. I think that would be a great,
All right, we can do that.
And I'm certainly happy to be involved in any way that I can. I think it's very interesting. You know, something that's coming down the pipe one way or another.
Sure.
Yeah, there's the Tesla charging right next to our building, so Southeast has definitely dealt with it at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there's Tesla charging right in the Dunkin' Donuts plaza there.
Well, right now, if somebody wanted to put charging stations on a business, all they'd be doing is applying for an electrical permit, right? There's no,
Site plan.
Site plan.
oh, site plan.
Site plan, and we've actually approved charging stations for the Acme Shopping Center a very long time ago. They never went in,
Yeah,
but they were approved as part of a site plan.
that makes sense. You park your car, charge and go shopping, spend
Yeah.
some money and get groceries and then. You know,
Yeah,
I wonder-
because Acme and then you gotta go to the pet store.
that's right.
So it's a walk.
See that?
I wonder what the cost, right? Is a substantial cost to,
Swipe your credit card.
Cost.
no, you know,
Yeah.
for the charging station itself.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, I think that in some situations Tesla puts them in because
Yeah.
it benefits their business for them to be around. So I think to some business owners, when you
Yeah.
see these specifically Tesla charging stations, I think the corporation pays for it.
Free advertising.
Mhm.
Interesting. Can you take any electric car to those test, like in Danbury Mall, they
I'm
have the
not sure.
Tesla stations. I don't
I
know.
don't know what if their outlets are different. I'm
Mm,
not certain.
interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we have a couple of contracts here. One is for the Putnam Lake Fire Department. We need to schedule public hearings on both of them. I will say this, that I met with the president of the Putnam Lake Fire Department earlier today. Sean attended that meeting as well. He brought up a lot of very good comments. I've made some adjustments to the contract you have in front of you, which I'll be getting out to you. I don't believe there was anything of substance. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
minimal.
But very good changes as well. So I'd like to thank Dave Rains for coming in and bringing those up and working with the town and adjusting the contract. So I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing for the fire protection contract between the town of Patterson and Putnam Lake Fire Department for the December 28th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing for the fire protection contract between the town of Patterson and Patterson Fire Department #1 for December 28th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we've got a couple of issues going on over at the highway department. The first one has to do with their wood stoves. We actually salvage the wood that we take trees down along the road and process them, and then we have outdoor wood burning stoves which heat all our garages. It's very, very cost effective. Unfortunately, though, one of the boilers did go. There is a replacement. And it's pretty much a sole source because this boiler, the firebox has to slide right into the existing unit with all the plumbing and everything. So it wasn't like we could shop it around. That being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amount of $21,045 to replace the Woodmaster furnace at the highway department. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the second issue is we lost a well pump over at our highway. We had to bring in Dave Adams. Thank you, Dave. He was very prompt in getting it cleared up for us, but the well pump cost a total of $2,313.16. I'd like to move approval of Dave Adams to replace the well pump at highway for the said amount. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Third up is a new truck that we recently purchased. We need to get a plow on it. We have a town of Patterson non-bid procurement request form for the plow. Low bidder was Metro Ford for an amount of $6,205. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's that. Project update. So we've had a couple of projects that we've had ongoing this year. The first one I want to talk about a little bit is the Putnam Lake. We had retained an individual, or actually a company, Nears, to do a study on Putnam Lake over the summer. They were supposed to be complete by now. In August, I became aware that things were starting to fall behind. And when I reached out to the principal who was doing all the work out there, found out for the first time that he had left to go to another company. And that's when the problems really started. So they missed the August sampling. They lost the data loggers that they had put in. They couldn't find the data loggers, so they lost that information. They never did the soil sampling. I've been going back and forth with the owner of the company, George Knocklin, and trying to come to some resolution about how to move this project forward. They actually did get quite a bit of good data this year. He is currently working on analyzing all that. But he has also agreed that he's going to do most of the sampling again next year for no cost. And I'm trying to work out a schedule for him on that. So we did get a lot of good data, but there are some holes that need to be plugged. And I think there's other things that we can look at this point. One of the big questions was the soil sampling, because I've been pretty adamant that we need to have a better idea about what's going on in the lake bottom and the soils there and how much phosphorus is being released. And I recently been provided some guidance documents from DEC on how to complete all that soil sampling. So I'm working my way through them, and I'm going back to George to see if we can get them to do some of the work next year, maybe an add-on charge. But I wanted to bring it up to the board's attention that this is now turned into from a 1 year to a 2 year study, unfortunately. And we're trying to stay on top of it. Any questions?
No, but thank you for that update. I also spoke with the gentleman that started the project with us, and I told him I was pretty disappointed in the way this transition occurred. It wasn't very professional, and he assured me that he had told his prior employer that Patterson was the one of the municipalities he did not reach out to, and you know, they dropped the ball in my opinion, and I just find that unconscionable. I'm hopeful. I think it's a great company, but you know, like anybody, they do go through transitional times.
The owner was very apologetic, and he recognized, he says he wants to maintain a good reputation, which is why he's agreed to do the sampling next year for free. Good. I think that was because now we're going to have 2 years worth of data instead of one.
Yeah.
And this is a long-term project. It's not a quick, there's no quick fix out there for Putnam Lake. I was actually on a call today with a different company, one that you and I had met with, about lakes in Southeast. And same thing, they, you know, that their goal is to slow down the process that leads to lakes like Putnam Lake and Lake Carmel that are that bad. You know, this was particular to Tenetta Lake in Southeast. You know, it's all about understanding the problem first. You start with good data. So we're in the right, we're driving the vehicle in the right direction. It's just a matter of, you know, where we're going and how we get there.
Right.
So.
Yeah. All right. The second project that I want to talk to the board a little bit about has to do with the water line extension from Dorset Hollow. We did hire back in February a consultant who was going to provide the board a preliminary report. The preliminary report was due in 1 month after they did a site walk on the plant. I've been hounding them for that report. I finally got it in 6 months late. And when I took a look at the report, I became very concerned over the progress. I think a lot of this has to do with contractual and legal issues, which we need to talk about in executive session. So if I start to go too far foul here, you know, stop me and let me, you know, rein me back in. But in looking at the preliminary report, I had a number of concerns. One was that they were talking about doing providing a treatment for radiologicals, even though we have not had a radiological problem out there in 20 years. They never bothered to look past the data. Their response was, well, it wasn't our responsibility to look at all the water quality data. They designed a water main that actually came up on the far side, the far eastern side of Front Street, making it difficult to tie in the properties. They actually put the water main on Metro North property. The response to that was basically whoops.
Yeah.
within the RFP that they were handed, they were given 11 specific properties, which we were looking to design a water main to tie those properties in. Their response to not providing a water main that would tie those properties in was that we thought that was just for sizing of the water main. Well, that's not what the RFP clearly said. And so at the end of the day, you know, we went round and round. I went round and round with them, and their response was, well, we can provide everything that you're looking for, but there's going to be an additional cost. And yeah, so they've provided an updated assessment, which, and the big issue that's missing here, I mean, most of it we can reel back in and get to a good place without too much effort. But the big issue here is they designed a water main that came up, ended in the parking spots on the east side of Front Street in a blowout. So we were losing a couple parking spaces and never worried about taking it under 311 to tie in the town hall and justice court building, which were clearly on that list of properties we were looking to tie in.
Yeah.
And so that's a big issue. And you have their proposal, which they are now looking for an additional $30,000 to complete that work. So at this point, I'm going to stop and ask the board if they have any easy questions. No?
Easy questions.
All right, then I'm going to stop this conversation and ask the board to go into executive session to discuss the new agreement.
Can we set that to the end of the meeting? After
And we
public
can,
rec-
and we will do that after public recognition and other business. Okay. Don't need-
Good.
So
Oh, yeah.
at this point, does any board member have any other business they wish to bring up?
No, I had one, I was gonna ask for an executive session on personnel for something, so I'm glad it was just conversation about personnel is all.
Okay. Public recognition. Any member of the public have anything they wish to address with the board at this time? George, how are you?
Good evening, George Tisbro. Tonight I'm representing the library. We wanted to extend our thanks to the town board, as well as I think specifically Council Member D'Andriano for putting a representative from Department of Homeland Security, Jose Dos Santos, in touch with us. I think you're all aware of that. And he's made 2 visits over to the library. The first visit, he came over and he reviewed all of our security measures in the library and what was going on. And he also reviewed our emergency action plan and submitted a report, which I believe he sent. Did he send it to you, Mr.
I
Williams?
did have a copy of it.
Okay. And we got pretty good grades. He made some recommendations and we're trying to address those.
We
So
get a
that
copy.
was,
Did I not give you the stuff? I apologize, I really do. Yeah. And he gave us reports on town hall, rec center and the library, I believe. So yeah, I'll get you copies. Sure. Yeah,
and
I thought I had done that.
the second visit that he made, which is quite timely that I'm talking about it this evening on the 10th anniversary of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. He came over prior to the library opening and sat down with our staff and director and some trustees. And we went over active shooter situation. And he was very thorough and we were very pleased that almost all of the staff had attended. And what we're going to do, the library, is that we're reaching out to Sheriff McConville and we're going to have trying to arrange a realistic active shooter drill. I think what I want to point out and what to me is noteworthy is that the cooperation that exists between the town and the various agencies and the other places in the town, that just makes it safer, more secure, and it's good that we have this dialogue that goes back and forth. So I just wanted to thank all of you for making that happen.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George. George, by the way, I don't know if they were giving trophies out on your road, but your house looks beautiful. Really nice,
Very much.
very festive, beautiful. I enjoy driving by every day and looking at your house. Oh, that's right. You're chief bottle washer. You said she designs, you just set them up. That's right. Good man, good man. Thank you.
Barry? All right, at this time, I will ask anybody joining us by Zoom, if anybody has any comments they wish to address to the board, if you could unmute and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Laura.
Hello, Laura.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, well, they didn't do anything else for us. That's all, well, they did do, lights at the school for the game. That's the only thing that they did on there. Civic, more. You don't have to worry about a nuclear power plant. And, you know, two more plants are looking to try to come into the neighborhood too. Patterson, and I don't know who the other company is, solar. Companies looking to come in. I don't know. Well, I think it's a great idea, putting solar around residential homes, I have them on my roof, 60-foot panels, but the idea of going out there and buy it, it's solar panels up. They also, right across the street from Perkins Avenue, they have a solar. Yeah. They're only solar. The one we have here, the whole landfill, 3.5, the whole 1.21 gigawatts.